are live. One day at a time, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Onward Podcast. Welcome everybody to the Onward Podcast. This is a live version of it. Normally I go live on Wednesdays at 7:30 Eastern if you want to follow me. But this week I've got one today with Sherrie, one Tuesday with Corey Warfield, and then I've got another one on Wednesday this week. So trying to get some awesome interviews in before the holidays, the Christmas holidays, because I'm going to take some time off, and I hope that you are too. So I'm excited to bring Sherrie on this episode, and she is the Senior Vice President of Burrell Worldwide, Beverly Hills, and I met her through commenting on one of my other lives. She was commenting, and then I meant to reach out to her, and then all of a sudden I was brought into this podcast or this live stream with Russ Hedge, and Sherrie was a guest there too, and I got to meet her that way, and I'm like, oh, I would love to have you on my show. And so here she is, adding her to the stream. Welcome, Sherrie.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's already afternoon here. I've already been outside raking leaves. Do you have any leaves in LA that you had to rake?
We do, but I will not rake them. I tell people I don't pick up my own luggage, so no, I will not be raking leaves. But I am just so happy to be with you this morning. And as I said, we're going to be talking today about branding your business and life. And those kind of project together in itself to kind of tell us where we're going, because if your business is not going well, then we bring it into our personal life, and that's something we want to start separating. To when you walk in the door, to leave work at work and bring life and enjoy your life as it is.
Yeah, so your business has to be going well to enjoy life, and
Exactly.
The purpose of this podcast, for people who don't know me, I worked for the Navy for 38 years. When you count my time at the Naval Academy and time as a naval officer and a civilian, and I retired in May of 2019. And I've learned all about this business branding stuff right. As I started my own small business, because I decided this is what I want to do. I want to host a podcast, host a live stream, and I want to be a coach. And so I've had to learn so many things, and I've learned some tips from you too, Sherrie. So this podcast is about facing adversity and moving forward. And I think a lot of people find starting a business is a tough challenge. And the things that your business covers with branding and negotiating and project management and public speaking help people overcome adversities that they face when they're starting their own business.
And sometimes people start their business and it goes great. And when it goes great for so long, you don't know how to handle when a diversity happens. And that's one thing I want to start teaching people a little bit more about. Business can be booming the first year or two. It's just like an entertainment industry. You can be on top of the world for the first 2 or 3 years, but if you don't rebrand yourself or find something else to go through, then you're going to fail and you're going to follow. And a few topics I really want to talk about today is how to brand yourself and bring that into the fold of even your personal life and doing it together. Because especially if you're married and have a spouse, that you don't want to so intudate your business and try to start your business that your marriage failed, or vice versa, your business failed because you're spending too much time. So you have to have a life balance here. And the first thing I always tell people, when you get ready to start your company, first of all, you want to know what and how, and I'm going to brand myself. If you have a strong business name or personal name, that can be your business name. But you have to ask yourself the questions: who, what, when, and why. Who am I doing this for? What is going to be my goal? And why am I doing this? Because everything that a lot of times people start their business based on what they see someone else do. Mm-hmm. You may want to be a public relations person, but you may not be a public relations person, consultant in general. Because one, you have to have the personality. You have to know how to talk to people, and you just can't talk to people in your ethnicity. I teach this all the time. You make sure you can speak with every culture, everyone you're doing business with. Because think about it, if you're going to only do business with your nationality, you've lost 75% of your client and 75% of your money. So you start off thinking, for me, what the reason why I chose Burrell was because my last name was strong. If your name is George Smith or Esther Lewis, when you Google that, how many names are going to come up?
Yeah.
What you want to do is figure out, will my name work? Because you'll see some people like Will Smith, they're Overbrook Entertainment. Will Smith is a common name, which is great, and it works for him. As they told him when he started out, what are you going to call yourself, or what are you going to call your name on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? And he said they told him to use his real name because that's what people are going to remember you by. Then that works in the entertainment industry when you want to solidify how you want people to remember you. And your business name should tell what you do, who you're about, and how you're going to proceed. If it's a cosmetic company, I can use my last name, Burrell Cosmetics, or Burrell Worldwide, which is a public relations firm. But I started off with Women of Excellence. Women of Excellence was my first journey. And the reason why it was called Women of Excellence, because I wanted to bring in women who are excellent and let them know you are somebody. You can do this. You can move forward. You don't have to be in the shadow of someone else. And we start our businesses based on the shadow of someone else. Who's going to help me get to this point? Oh, can you introduce me to this? Bring in, have your own dream. Do not run someone else's success, and create a business name that's going to work. If it's not,
I was just going to say that's awesome advice. And let's welcome some of our guests, and then I wanted to ask you some questions about that, or some of our viewers. So we've got Precious. I think you know Precious, right? Precious Williams. You said she just recently won an award.
She did. I believe it was Entrepreneur of the Year. So I'm honored to have her in my circle of people. And that's important too. When you have your business, whether you're starting your business or late in your business. Hi, Gina. I know her as well. She's in the entertainment industry as well. You have to want to know, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to push forward? Where is my name going to go? What it's like the where you have the what is your dash going to be in life? You have when you were born, when you were going to die. What are you going to do in the middle? That applies to your business as well. Why am I doing this? You have to do something that you love. I don't believe in the passion. Do your passion and the money will follow. I always say the money should come right when it starts. Because what's going to happen is if you're not going to make money, you're going to be unhappy. And that life unbalance at work is going to go over to your other life, your personal life. And you don't want that to happen. You want to have that balance there. That's why I say it's crucial to figure out what you want to do, when you want to do it, how's this going to work. Even if you're going to write a book, why are you writing that book? Are you writing it for fame? Or are you writing it to help someone? So you want to brand your name. Sometimes it's good to have your name. Sometimes it's not. And great seeing you, Mr. Hazard. I'm so happy to see you here from Chicago. You want to make sure that your brand speaks to who you are. Because you can want to have a bakery, but if you don't know how to cook, why are you opening that bakery?
Well, I think so when you say your brand speaks to who you are, which means you've got to know who you are.
Exactly.
And some people sometimes, how does somebody figure out that?
If you don't know how to do it, that's when you bring in a marketing person to help you figure that out. Your marketing person should be able to walk you through every business entity. I always tell people it's good to have a public relations person or publicist, but that marketing person with the marketing background and a business background, they're going to sit you down and tell you, okay, this is going to work. This is not going to work. I've helped determine what their business name is, because if your business name is not strong, you're not going to be strong. You have to know what I'm going to put to the table. Why am I doing this? Because some people name work. I mean, we could look at Serena Williams. Her name works for her. But before we remember Serena, we knew what she did. We knew where she started from and how she worked. John Travolta, you think about him. He did not start out the way most of us came about. And look at him today. He's a pilot. And you also have to realize that most businesses, no matter what you do, the first 3 years is establishing your boundaries, who you are, what you want to do, and how you're going to move forward. If you don't have a solid 3-year plan when you start out, or a marketing budget, that is so imperative to have. You have to have the money to make your business work. You cannot make a movie or write a book or do anything and you have no funding to let people know who, what, when, and where you're going with this. Prime example, I had a person who definitely spent $500,000 to do a movie. And to this day, that movie has not come out because they didn't put together a marketing budget. The marketing budget should be at the top of your list. Once you figure out, okay, this is what my business is going to be called, this is what I'm going to do with my business, and you write that 1-page business plan and let them know this is what I want to do. You can get funding from an organization based on having your marketing plan in place before you even start the business, because that's why investors come in. But if you don't have that in place, they're not going to give you $500,000 or $100,000 or $10,000 to start your business. I was blessed to have some of my family members help me. My brother helped me in the beginning, and I was so grateful for that. So he saw some of the things I did before he passed away, but I was so proud of him. You know, him being a police officer and serving the country. That's why I tell people everybody in every entity is not bad, and you can't get mad with one person and blame it on the entire company.
Because that's a good point. And I think too, what you said about doing something that you really love, and maybe it's not your passion, but you've got to really enjoy what you do. When I retired from working for the federal government, you know, I was the head of the Department of the Navy's Office of Small Business Programs. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed helping small businesses find opportunities to do business with the Navy and the Marine Corps. When I retired, people were telling me what I should do. You're too young to retire. You should go be a government contracting consultant. You should go start your own business. You should continue to advise small businesses. And one way to know if something's your passion or not is like the energy level you feel when someone's telling you what you should do, you know. And my energy level was like, I've done that. I just don't want to do that. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to be leading a successable company. So I figured out.
And you won't, because when you look at the people who, I also admire this lady. Her name is Candy Lee in the Los Angeles area. I admire so much what she does because she has a passion. If you're going to help the homeless, you have to have a passion for that. Yeah. If you're going to help someone with mental health, you have to be able to say, okay, I went through this and this is why I can talk to you about that. But then on the flip side of that, you'll also have you don't have to go through something in order to know how to make it work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For instance, when I was a young child, I could pull loose every electronic, television, radio, everything in the house, put it back together, and it was working. I couldn't tell you how I did it, but I always did it. And I do remember those times when something would stop working And I would tell my parents, even though we were really blessed as privileged Black people, but I always said, "Oh, I can take that loose and put this back together." And one of my first job was working for an electronic engineering company.
That's
And
it. Yeah, that's interesting.
and some of it is just your gift and your passion of what you know how to do. And everything you know how to do does not mean that's your business. Your
Well, I
business should
know.
come
Yeah,
in.
I know too. And some people think that working with the federal government is a get rich quick scheme. So they start their business and they're like, I want to sell to the government. Well, who's the government? It's huge. What are you going to sell? Well, I don't know. I'm going to figure that out. And that's like starting backwards, right?
And
Because
you can. And I just say make a list. Once you solidify your name, solidify your one page of what you want to do. You can have a passion for your business, but that's not always okay to have, because sometimes it's just something that needs to be done.
mm-hmm.
If we need to clean up the homeless situation, you don't have to have a passion for that. Start with one person at a time. It's the same way with your business. You start your business, you do your one pager, and then you write down the 3 strongest points in your life. Your This recently happened to me this year, and I didn't have it on my LinkedIn page. And I was just praying one day, and God said, "What is your strongest strength?" I said, "Negotiations." I had never listed that on any of my social media profile. I listed it that within, I think, an hour or so, someone from a major city called me and said, "I want you to teach us about negotiations, and this is what we're
That's
going to pay
awesome.
you."
That's
So
awesome.
you find your strengths, because you may not be your best pitch person, and you may not be the best person to talk about yourself.
That's a
And
good point.
then you also, but that's a flip to that. If you walk in an elevator with someone you want to meet, they may be going to the second floor. You don't have 1 minute. You have less than 15 seconds to introduce yourself. Don't give them your card. You let them come to you, because the idea of marketing and branding yourself is for people to come to you and you not go after them. Of course,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
beginning, when you start, you're going to have to go after a few people, but you're going to have to work. Branding yourself is hard work. I tell people that all over the time. Okay, if it's hard work and you're not good at it, that's okay. That's because we have a receptionist in the office. If they're not answering the phones properly, you're going to lose business. You have the janitorial staff. If your office is not clean, no one wants to come to you. You have your hairdressers. If you go to a meeting, your hair is not done, or your groomsmen, when you go to the barber shop, you're going to lose the business. So we all have an important job. We can't look down at someone because maybe they may not sit on the executive board, because some people on the executive board may be the worst people to work with. And you also find your mentor, someone who's going to mentor you into what you need to do, how you're going to do it, and always listen. Even if someone gave you advice or you know how to do something, you always listen, because you never know what you can learn listening again and you miss something. You're
Yeah.
not going to become the best person in the world or the best entrepreneur by one, working hard, branding yourself, learning how, as Gina says, rebranding yourself, because most of the time, the life expectancy of anything is 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And
So you
either,
got to be able to pivot and rebrand and be thinking about that, right? Not just rest on
exactly.
your laurels.
Exactly, because if someone, I was listening to someone the other day, and they were talking about some things we have that we did back in the 60s and 70s, but whoever thought there would be a motorcycle, or whoever thought there would be a jet, or whoever thought when they started the train service, then there's going to be a speed railroad, and there's going to be Amtrak and all of those businesses. So you always want to rebrand yourself. And I have several things I can do, and I always say it's contributed to the 10 talents that God gave me, and I work the 10 talents. I know how to negotiate. I know how to brand. I know how to be a public relations. I know accounting. I know marketing. You learn all of those aspects because you never know when you have your business if someone might walk off the job or someone may die. If
Yeah.
they die, do you have a replacement for that person? But
Yeah, that's
you be the best person that you are, and you make my staff. I always said, if I have, you're gonna have. I'm not gonna drive a Mercedes and you drive a Yugo or a Pinto because that is a representation of who I am.
I love that. And look, and how do you pronounce her name? You're a friend.
That's Gina Brown.
Gina. Okay, Gina says, don't overlook your audience. And I want to just say, look at all the people that are commenting. It's really hard to keep up with all of the comments, but I'm going to go back when this live is over and comment, reply to all of your comments. I appreciate you guys watching. I know that Sherrie
Most of
has.
the people I keep seeing are experts in their field. They didn't become experts by not being able to brand themselves or talk about what they're going to do. As I said before, you are not always your best pitch person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not the best pitch person, then you want to make sure you have someone who like you, number one, and they don't have to necessarily like you, but they want to see your dream. They want to see you become the best person that you are. And you have to be honest with people. That is one of the first things I learned in doing public relations and marketing, because people see themselves one way. But if you're a good consultant, you're going to tell them that's not going to work. But sometimes you can be very persistent. They can be very persistent. And sometimes you do it just to let them see this may not work. But if it works, you have to be a strong enough business person to let the people know, yes, I made a mistake. I actually had that, and I won't say, but he was formerly known as, was doing a benefit for our project. And I just knew I was right in the marketing aspect of that. But when it came down to it, they were right. I saw the bigger picture and they saw this is how it always worked. But I thought because of the event and what was going on, that wasn't going to work with children. But it actually worked. But I knew how to say I was wrong.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the next genre. So you can't go into marketing and PR for people and your clients and not be strong enough to say you were right on that one. And marketing, yes, what do you do? What do you have? What can you bring to the table? And why anyone would care? Barbara, is not so much about other people caring. It's about you caring.
Mm.
You're going to be the person who loves your business the most. If you don't love it, the other person is not. It's just like when someone sings.
What if you're like not good at tooting your own horn? You feel like that's bragging. You've got this good business, but you're a little nervous about that. Is that where you said what you're talking about when you say find somebody that can be your spokesperson?
I think you are your best spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get past that 35 years ago because I did feel like, oh, people are thinking I'm bragging. I can do this and I can do that. But it's not bragging. It's knowing who you are, what your company is about. Now, some people are just afraid to talk in public, and that's okay. That's when I mean find the best pitch person for you, because then they can talk for you. That's why people have marketing directors and communications press people, so they can present to you what is going on and what I'm thinking. If you look at the White House, the press secretaries, they're speaking on behalf of President Biden. Okay, of course he can come out, but he's busy doing something else. And you, as the founder of your corporation or your organization, if you have all these entities in place, then you can do what your business is supposed to do. Make sure your business is running, Make sure you're following the accountant who's doing the work. And when you hear the stories about accountants taking money from people, that's because you are not paying attention to everything that they're going to do. And structurally, and then you have someone else. People ask me, why do you serve as the vice president of communications for your organization? I said, because personally, and I don't think it's gloating, I haven't found anybody stronger than me. Of course, I know they're out there in marketing my business because this is my baby. However, someone else can serve as a president. Someone else can serve, as a vice president. I'm okay with that. You have to be strong enough within yourself to know that you can put someone else in front of you to work for you. But if your strongest point is communications and marketing, which is what I do, and I love doing that part, and I tried to move away from that, but I came back to it because that's my passion, and I know how I want to be perceived in what I do. Even if you're an independent actress or actor, your name is your brand, whether it's your real name or whether it's a name that worked for you. But as you move forward and grow up, people have childhood names when they're coming up. But as you move and grow up, you change. And when you see some of the credits on the TV, you also see where people have their real name or they have their stage name. But when they move up, they start using their real name because they're growing up.
That's interesting.
And that's okay. That's okay to do. But, because for a long time, people didn't think Prince was Prince's real name. But that worked for him.
So how do you, when you're working with somebody, let's say I come in and I say, I want to work with your company, Sherrie, help me with my brand. And you don't even know me from Adam. Let's say we haven't had this conversation. You don't know anything about me. How do you, what does it take to really understand that person and what they want to do to help them with developing their brand and their marketing and stuff like that? Like,
I'm going to speak from the perspective of my organization. When you come to me and we don't know who you are, I come from an aunt who is a police detective, and she always let me know, about being able to do research. So I kind of learned from her. You research everyone you going to do business with, because I might not be the best fit. So first of all, I'm going to research you. But because I built my company and my brand, I'm going to ask around about you. People do it to me. I've had celebrities do that to me when they did not know who I was. They asked other people, well, who is this person? Why don't I know it? Does she do a good job? Do I do a good job 100%? No. And if someone tells you that, they are not being truthful. Because we all make mistakes in business, even after 35 years. So once we do the research on you, then we're determining whether or not we're going to work with you. And I always advise people, especially if it's contractual, don't do the contract more than 30 days in the beginning. Because it allows you to figure out if you can work with that person or not.
That's good advice.
And another thing, when I want to know about a person, we go to lunch or we go for coffee, because it puts the person out of their comfort zone. Because if you meet inside of an office, they're going to put that representative on, well, this is what I can do, and this is what we're going to do, and they're going to talk business. When you're casual, you're going to loosen up a little bit, and you can learn a lot about a person once they start telling you about themselves. And then you can pull out of them, especially from a PR and marketing perspective, because that's what we do. I have to pull out of you, what is your real dream and why do you want this to happen? And who is it going to benefit? Is this benefiting you or is it going to benefit everyone? Because if it's just going to benefit you, you don't need to have a business. You can go.
How did you do that when COVID hit and you couldn't meet with people in person? Did you find the discussions over Zoom the same, or could you not get that feel as easily?
Well, I normally don't like to talk personally about my life, but however, I was actually in the hospital when COVID hit. I went through three surgeries in 10 months when COVID hit.
Wow.
But I still had my computer and my phone working in the hospital and after surgery, and it actually got confiscated. But that was because I love what I do. I was still able to tell people, this is what you, just because COVID hit does not mean you stop working, because how are you going to feed your family? How are you going to maneuver? And if you have those millions of dollars in the bank, are you spending it? Or are you putting it aside? So COVID became a pivot for everyone. Doing Zoom meetings, which is something I would never do, but I'm doing it now. So you have to be able to shift, but that's just life. Life shifts itself. Your business shifts itself. So we can't use COVID as a scapegoat for not doing the work.
Definitely. Okay. I agree. And I also say, I think sometimes we look at all these circumstances as they're happening to us. And if this didn't happen, or once this is over, then I'll do this. And we really can, we can take more control of our lives and not let COVID.
And we can. The only adjustment I had to make was when I came out of the hospital, because I didn't know how the world was working. I didn't know what standing 6 feet apart meant. Even though the television was on in the hospital, I had to learn how to maneuver, because I didn't understand what was going on. That was a long time. And then when I got out of the hospital, I got COVID. Never caught it the almost entire year I was in the hospital. I got it after the fact. But it did not bring me down, because I made a promise to myself that I'm going to continue to do this and help people as long as I can. But we also can, and speaking of the personal side, because that happens in life and business, you may have a spouse or a child to get sick. This hit me head on. I did not see this coming, because when I had my 50th birthday, I got hit by a car in the middle of a crosswalk. The lady decided to try to beat the light, but she hit me in the middle of the crosswalk. To this day, they had to put my legs back in place. My hands broke. It took a long time to learn how to maneuver. But one thing I said, okay, my right hand I could not use for 2.5 years, but I was the blessed part was being ambidextrous. So it allowed me, I said, okay, I type 120 words a minute. If I do that with 2 hands, I can type 50 with 1. So that's
amazing. Look at the attitude that you have, because those things, being in the hospital for that long, having COVID, being hit by the car, those are all things that can send a business down. So that tells me that you've got really strong people that, are on your team, and you've been able to delegate, and everybody will come together.
Don't get me wrong. It did hit all of us financially, period. Whether it was COVID or the Me Too movement or whatever, or illness, because we all had to learn how to work remotely at home. And that's discipline in itself. But you get up 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock, you still work like you're in an office. You don't turn the television on. You don't turn the radio on. You do your work. You take your break at 10:30. You take your break at 2:30. You stop working at 5. Whatever works for you. What works for me is 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm dealing with people in the East Coast. And I want to make sure I'm alert and there to talk to you when it's time to talk to you. What do they say? The early bird gets the worm. Of course they do. When news breaking things happen, me being in communications and media, which is a part of the company, you want to know what's going on. And you always have to study your competitor.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough work for everyone, but if you don't know what the other person is doing to get ahead, you're not going to make it. Did I have down moments? Of course, I had down moments through getting hit by the car, learning how to walk again, which took 3.5 years to actually learn how to walk. And then the infection happened, which I got my strong will from my mother. My mother got cancer when I was 11 years old. She never gave up.
Mm.
She said, I'm going to do this and this and this. And she said, all I want to do is see you make it to 20 years old. And I'll be fine and I'll go ahead and succumb to this. And she did,
Oh,
which
wow.
was a blessing for me. And I look at the journey as she taught me how to negotiate at 15 years old.
How
She
was
said,
that?
that what happened was my father was working all the time. So I grew up with both of my parents back in the 50s and 60s. And the great part about that is we all had a role to play. I have siblings that are older than me, and they were all gone by the time I was 11. I was, accident maybe, but I was born for a reason.
Yes, you were.
So when she got to her worst, she said, look, I'm not going to be able to read all of this paperwork and negotiate with the hospitals and the doctors and the insurance companies. You need to learn it. That's why when I go into a place and they give me a document, you better read every page. Even if you tell them, I'll bring this back to you tomorrow. Because I actually, when I first started, had a contract given to me. It was 24 pages. On the 18th page, they had scratched out the money amount and wrote something different in.
Whoa.
And I said, I cannot work for you. I cannot do this contract. And they said, why? I said, because on page 24, you scratched out the amount and wrote in what you want. I said, you were counting on me not reading all pages. You don't have to sign on the dotted line and they say, take it with you and read it later. No, you either they're going to wait for you to read it or you'll get back with them. I always say, tell them 1 to 3 days because that allows you to think about it. And if you have to go back to the negotiating table, it allows you to do so because the negotiating table is where you're going to get your money to run your project, your firms, your company. You always ask for 3 times more than you want. If you need $1 million, you ask for $3 to $5 million because what you want to do is land at that 3 million. You always want to get more than you ask for because that allows you to do your projects, do what you need to do in the business and say, no, I am not going to do this for this amount. And sometimes we're just afraid to say no. And we accept a deal for what it is. It's one thing if you're going to help someone to build on their dreams, especially if you've already lived your dreams, but you stick to what you ask for. And if they don't want to do it, you move to the next person. And you can't take everything personal. That's the problem with a lot of people. They take things personal. Oh, they don't like me. I don't care if you don't like me in business or my personal life. But one thing you will do, you will respect me. When the
That's
respect,
clear. I can tell that. I'm sure.
when
Yeah.
the respect is gone, you will get your money back, or the contract is done. Because we're all trying to do something to help the next person or the next generation in our family. But you have to speak up for yourself. You have to tell people, this is what I want to do, and this is why I'm doing this. And as I said, going back to your name, my name is strong, my family is strong, my parents were strong, and I'm grateful for learning the business side of that and what I want to do. Do I make mistakes? Of course I do. Everyone makes mistakes. But you have to correct your mistake, admit the mistake, decide whether or not, okay, I'm going to correct this mistake, because if you don't correct the mistake, then you're going to fall to the wayside and no one's going to want to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a question. Should you create separate brands when you work for a corporation? For example, most know me as Cheryl Friend in my clubhouse space. However, my corporate role, I drive engagement for LPL Financial.
You actually can, because most of us who start our own small businesses, we have two separate entities. That's what the marketing person and the brand management person that you hire is going to help decide and determine. But you also have to be careful when you work for a corporation and you start your own business. If the two don't coincide with each other, you can work. So if you're working in finances, your business should have nothing to do with finances, because a corporation can come back and sue you
Okay.
because they don't know if you're stealing their ideas to make your company work. And if you have your company, which is totally different from the corporation that you're working in, you're pretty much safe. That's why it's important. And I tell everyone, your circle in your business, you should have a friend that's an accountant. You should have a friend that's an attorney. You should have a friend in every genre that you're working in. One of the things and this was a blessing for me, my attorney that I have now, the corporation in Los Angeles, I met them through getting hit by the car accident. They came to the hospital, and of course I Googled, did the research, and said, okay, I've never heard of these people, even though my business partner had given me their name, and I called them. And when I Google them and find out who they were one of the largest attorney offices in Los Angeles. And
Wow.
I will say their name, Ivy McNeil and Wyatt. And we became friends thereafter, because then I found out his wife was a blues singer, which I already knew the brothers, but I didn't know it was a girl. So now I'm, helping them when they ask for me when she's singing. And then if something happens, then I can call them. And it allows me to, if you come on board with my organization, you have an attorney, you have an accountant, someone to help you guide, because people don't want to pay for that. And sometimes they can't afford to pay for that. And that's okay. That's why bartering comes in.
Yeah.
I do believe once you've started your business, the bartering should stop,
Okay.
because
All right.
because then the only time you hear from people is when they want you to do something.
Okay.
I don't want you to call me and I haven't heard from you in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because
Relationships are really important.
it really happened. Someone did call me after a few years. Oh, well, let's go to this. I find out this is happening in this entertainment thing. I want to go to this. And I said, I haven't heard from you in 5 years. Why are you calling me? What do you actually want? And I try to be polite most of the time, but I also don't call me when you need a favor, because I'll do the favor for you. And sometimes, because of the infection that I had and everything, I didn't talk to a lot of people. But I'm okay with people calling me, because I'm trying to be as honest, and you have to protect your personal life to a certain point, and then you have to know when to start talking about it. But you don't want people calling you, and you already know when that person is calling, oh, can you get me tickets to this place? Oh, can you do some personal branding for me? If I offer you personal branding to help you move because of COVID, and some people do need a little help, let me offer it. Don't ask me for it.
Yeah. Don't ask. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good advice. So yes, delegate for sure.
Yes.
And Gina
Delegate.
says, pay attention to the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't really like doing. And I wasn't really, when I started my company, I wasn't really doing a good job of recording my income and expenses, which is something that you really need to look at. So finally, I realized I wasn't going to do it because it wasn't something I enjoyed, and I just didn't make the time. So I invested in an accountant, and that took so much pressure off of me. It's somebody that I trust, and it helped me then pay more attention to the money. It wasn't my strong point. It's not something I enjoy doing.
And the funny thing is, I think money should be everyone's strong point. You know the reason
Yeah.
why I say that? Because you don't have to do it. That's why you have the accountant.
Right.
But you hire an accountant behind you. Because when you hear the stories about about some of the people who have accounting that they were their best friends for 20 years and they're whitewashing their checks.
Oh yeah.
And I won't say the celebrity name, but that actually happened to them. So you have to pay attention.
You have to pay attention.
It's not just the money, everything that's going on in your business, because if something happens, you want to be able to make sure somebody can pick it up. When I got hit by that car, it was New Year's, Christmas weekend, and I was doing a major project. And I called the person and said, I've been hit by a car. I'm in traction. They still wanted me to complete the project. So I literally had to call my goddaughter, who was always working with me, gave her all my passcodes, and she finished the project for me. So you always want to have a backup person that can help you. And I told them I would give you the money back. They didn't want the money back. They wanted me to finish the project. So whatever role, you should learn every role in your organization, from answering the phones to cleaning the office to being the accountant. And if you're running and this is you need to pay attention to everything. Yeah. Even if you're not the strong person, if your daughter or niece or someone that you can trust, you have them watch the accountant. Right. But you want to learn everything. You want to learn social media. You want to have someone young in your office as well as someone seasoned, and let them learn how to work together, because you don't know everything because you're older, and you don't know everything because you're younger. So you have to come in the middle and bring both entities together, and then you have the whole project or the whole company together. We have to trust each other, and we have to learn. And Robert said, you're the person
to speak for your business. Own your talent. That's true. And
I do agree with that. You have to own. No, you're your best pitch person. I tell the people that all of the time, because if you don't become your best pitch person, then your business is going to fail, because you may want to say a certain thing, and the person who's speaking for you may not say what you need to have said. And I agree with him on that. However, Robert, Mr. Hazard, I do believe that if you're not the best pitch person and the best person that can be the spokesperson for you, that's why a lot of these companies have ambassadors, then you find someone to do that for you. And also, I always tell people, if you're not a speaker, go to Toastmasters. Learn how to speak in front of someone. Practice in front of a mirror. Practice in front of whomever will be the person that tells you you need to work on this. And it's okay not being the best spokesperson, because sometimes you may be good at the accounting part. Then do that.
Yeah.
But as I said, right.
Go ahead.
But for me, I'm good. I personally feel like that. And I always use the Bible. I say, when God created the world, when he finished, what did he say? Oh, that was good. So if he can say it, I think it's okay for us to say, okay, I'm good at what I do. I like what I'm doing. If I'm not good at it, at least I can tell you I'm not good at it. I need to hire somebody to do this. And that's okay. I like talking. And people, if you meet people from my high school and college and church, from I say age 20 on down, they will tell you I was very quiet. I didn't say hardly anything. But when I started talking, I realized I have the gift of gab and negotiations, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. So you figure out your strong point.
And why did you start this company?
I started with Women of Excellence. That was and that came from my niece, who told me there's always organizations for inner city youth, and the rich people have country clubs. Why don't you start something for people, middle to high class people, and teach them how to do things? And I did that. And then when I started Women of Excellence, I put an entity onto that where I had programs for youth. So I always help middle class to higher middle class people who didn't quite have enough money to go to school, to send their kids to school. And then I kind of got thrown in the entertainment part of it. I went into a nonprofit to learn how a nonprofit becomes successful, because that's what I thought I wanted to do. And it was an entertainment company, pretty much an entertainment company for children. And I was working as a receptionist, and we had to call, all the top executives had to call all of these entertainers. Well, they were running out of time, so they gave me a script to call all the entertainers and tell them this and this and this. So when they called back, they asked for me, and they said, "Oh, she's only the receptionist." So they said, "Well, when she's available, we will speak to her." And so they gave me the script. And when I called some of the celebrities back, and I said, "Well, I'm just a receptionist. I'm learning the business. I'm, right out of college and everything." And they said, "You're too smart and intelligent to be working for these people. When you start your own company, call me."
Oh my gosh.
And it clicked in my head. Okay, I can speak. I can talk to people. And I ran with it.
What do you think the difference was? Because you said you were reading a script. So what made you stand out?
Because I was trained as a child how to speak properly and how to exert myself until I was around a lot of strong women in my family, including my mother. Everyone was really strong, and they were business minded. So when they gave me the script, I just told them, "Okay, this is what we're having. We're doing this mass media conference. This is what they want to do." And they began to have a conversation, because I'm not afraid to talk to people. I'll walk up to a stranger and talk to a person. But you have to make sure you know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I always knew, my mother always trained us, if you don't have facts and figures, do not have a conversation. And I use that in my business. Let's have facts. Let's do this. Even when I worked as a management for organization, they said, "Sherrie is not going to allow you to come in her office, because she's going to say, 'Did you research it? Did you find it? Did you do this and this and this and this?'" And even with arguments, I don't get in the middle of people arguments. I tell them, "You sit down, you discuss it, you have the facts, the figures, and know what you want to do." Because if you don't have the facts and figures, then you're not going to win the argument. And see, I'm too stubborn that I always want to win the argument, no matter what. But I do know
Barbara says you're a force to be reckoned with, resiliency at its best.
And I shut down in my personal time, because my niece always say, "Okay, you're one way in business, but then you just to yourself when you go home." I said, business is business and privacy is privacy. But you have to be so strong in knowing what you want to do, learn what you want to do, and always educate. Well, no matter what your company is, what you're doing, you study your company every year. You find out what's the next generation doing. You find out everything their competitors are doing. And because the rules change every few months, the rules change, and no matter what your job is. And you want to find out, okay, what are they learning now? What are they doing now? Certify yourself, take your credentials. A lot of people don't know, in public relations and marketing, you can take that national exam and be certified. You can be certified in coaching. That allows you to ask for more money, because even when I started out, I was asking for $60 an hour in the beginning. And someone asked me, "Why did you think that?" I said, "Because I was strong in what I did. I studied what I did. I knew what I wanted to do." And even now, when I tell people, I start off as a consultant. If you're consulting, you should not be giving any services for free, not even your consulting fee to initially talk to people. You talk to people 15 minutes, and you find out what they want, because people will tell you, "Oh, well, I just want to pick your brain."
Yeah, I ran into that a lot when I first retired.
You know what my answer to that is? It's $1,500 to pick your brain.
Wow. I didn't get the confidence to say that. I didn't say 1,500, but when I first retired, working for the Navy paid my salary, and my job was to provide advice to small businesses on how to do business with the government. And so people would want to pick my brain, and then I realized, no, I don't have time for this. So I finally, my response is, okay, and this is what the price is to pick my brain.
You know what happens? When people pick your brain, they're picking your. they're picking your brain to start their own business or their own project. They're going to go out and make millions of dollars or however much they want to make, and you just giving them the leeway. It's like when people get their residuals and sign off on this project. Oh, I'm going to sell this thing that I invented. A lot of times they forget to ask for the residuals if it takes off.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at, I'll use the movie Black Panther, written by one person, produced by some place. But when you sell that movie to someone and they say, I'm going to give you $10 million, and then it goes on to make billions of dollars, and you haven't put in that clause, I will get 5% of whatever makes of this project. It's just like investors, Shark Tank. Okay, I'm going to give you $100,000, but I want 30% of the business.
Yeah.
I say that to people. I said, whatever the project is, this is what it's going to cost. This is how much you want to do. Now, if I'm, like I said, if I'm helping you, that's one thing. But never be afraid to ask for your money, because one person I asked for $1 million and another person I asked for 100,000. And then you're upset because you felt like, okay, you gave this person this because he was a man and me because I was a woman. You have to force it. It's like, no, I'm not going to do this for free. No, I want $1 million. You paid him $1 million. That's what I want my company or organization to have. And if you're not willing to give it, I'll be willing to wait 2 or 3 months or a year to get what I want, because this is of value to me. You don't want to sell yourself short.
Yep.
You want to ask for what you're worth. I don't care how much you think they're going to say, oh, no, we're going to give you $18 for this, when you originally told me it was $100 an hour. That's what happened to me with that contract. And they went in and put $18 an hour. I was like, I would not be working for you.
Well, we can tell ourselves stories too. Like, we've got to wrap this up, but somebody wanted to do some certain kind of business with me, and I put in writing back what the monthly price was going to be, and it was kind of high. So I mean, not kind of high. It was higher. It was fair. It was fair. Mm-hmm. And I didn't hear from the person, so I thought, well, I guess they don't want to do business with me. But then I sent another email about some free resources, like some podcasts. And then the person said they had missed my email, and they're like, yeah, I want to work with you. So, that's something that I think our minds get in the way when we're doing some business too. And we make up stories about what other people might be thinking, and that's probably something that you've run into too in working with people and running your business.
And it does. And one of the things I tell people, I don't do business on my phone, and I don't do business via email unless I'm receiving a document to read. Mm-hmm. You have to still pick up the phone. Yes. Because you need, and then you have to meet people. And even though it's been challenging because of COVID, you still have to do a Zoom meeting or talk to someone, because you want to find out what they want and how they want it and when they want it done, and pick up the phone, because negotiation is hard to do via text message or via email.
Yeah, we had talked over the phone too.
Right. You pick up the phone, and you have to make people talk to you, because that's your livelihood. That's your business. So your life and your business, they coincide together to make you the best person that you are. And you have to have supporters behind you, people to push you. If people are not standing with you, they're going to stand against you.
So many nuggets of advice, excellent advice in here, Sherrie. And I saw that when you were talking on Russ Hedges' live show, and that's when I said, I want to have Sherrie on my show. So I'm so glad that you were able to come today. I know it's a Saturday. I appreciate you spending part of your Saturday with me and with the viewers. And thank you to everybody who commented and engaged in the conversation. It's awesome. I appreciate you. It's so nice to be live and have people, commenting. And if you haven't connected with people on the chat, reach out and connect with people. This is the way connections are made too, from, connecting with people on LinkedIn, and who knows what could come of it.
Yes, and I want to thank everyone who came in as well and give up their Saturdays to be a part of this business discussion. And I'm so grateful for those who've been with me and held my hand when I needed it. And that's what we all have to do, is be there for each other, make each other business work, and move forward with
Yes.
that. Yes.
Onward together. That's what what my little hashtag there is. Yeah, we can all help each other moving onward. Any last bit of advice that you want to leave before we wrap this up?
We all work together as one, and when the mold is broken, then everything breaks apart. But you can rebuild, but rebuild with honesty. Know the people around you, your surroundings, and know who you want in your circle of friends. Your circle of friends and business acquaintances is going to help you make your business work. You do not want negative people, and you have to get those people out of your life, whether it's business or personal, because either way you're going to be stressed out and you don't want that. But let's pull each other up, and let's acknowledge, even your company is your strong, the weakest person, that's the person that you should hold the hand to and bring them up. And sometimes it may not be the best person or the best fit for your company. And make sure we all are being kind to each other moving forward. You can be tough in your business, but you also have to know when to back up and let things happen, because sometimes we're so busy trying to not let things break apart or fall or be broken. But if we don't acknowledge what's going on, we're not going to put the pieces back together. And I so appreciate everyone who's been here with me and for my journey. And because if you're kind to the people, they're going to stay with you. The people I started off with 25, 30 years ago, I can still pick up a phone and talk to those people. And that's what you want. You want people to see your dream and help you move forward in what you're doing. And make sure that you are kind to the person that's around you. Because if I have, you have. As I said, this journey is not mine alone. Because if it was alone, I wouldn't have been in business this long, for over 30 years. I've had my ups and downs, but we all do.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to say, okay, I can't do this right now, but let me see if I can find somebody who can do it. Such as you said, not being the strong person in money. The only thing I would say is, in money, you have to oversee everything of what's going in and what's going out. Because if you
I
have that,
oversee it. Yes.
yes,
I just
you
don't
have
like
that,
to record it in the spread,
and that's okay. Because I don't
don't
like to do the spreadsheet part of it either. But I want people to make sure, as I said, going over what I said in the beginning, branding is for your business and your life. If your name is strong, you can use it as your brand depending on what your company is about. And know your who, what, when, and where. Always watch your back, find out who's there for me, who's not there for me, and pay attention to every surrounding that's going on in your business. And make sure whatever you do, you can have the passion, but sometimes you don't have to have the passion to help someone. So you want to make sure you move forward with that, and you come up with what you're going to do to make a difference. What do you want that dash to say, as people say, even in your business? How do you want to be remembered when you pass away? You don't want the last thing you do to be the worst thing you've ever done in your life, and that's your last breath. So be considerate of other people. Know your business name. Call a marketing person. Have a budget for marketing and PR. Have a budget for the person who's going to do the books, the virtual calling. Just have a budget for everyone, even in this time of COVID, and learn how to pivot as things are going. Right now, we have to figure out what's our next move. And those of you that are listening, who have nonprofit foundations, even though you think it's not the good time to submit your proposal, still do so, because the corporations have not shut down. They still have to use the marketing money and the budget to make your project work. So please still submit to the same people or better people to make sure nonprofit work, your organization and for your project work, because they still have to spend that money because they're still in existence. If you can see what's happening for Black Friday, those corporations still have to spend that money. So don't think your nonprofit or your small business have failed, because it has not. You can still ask people to be investors. You can still ask people to come on along and help your project, but make sure you have a written proposal together and not say, well, I keep all of this in my head. I keep a lot of things in my head, but I know if I'm going to go after the money and negotiate, I have to have a perfect, pretty much business proposal so that people can see, what am I going to do with the money? How am I going to use it? Who am I going to pay? What am I going to do next year with the money? And always make sure whatever you're doing, your project or your nonprofit, you want to ask for money for 2 to 3 years out. Because if you ask for 1 year, the money is gone. And what are you going to do for the next 2 or 3 years? So you make sure you ask for the money now. You have probably to about December 15th now to get proposals on corporations' desks. And there is a difference between asking for money for nonprofit and asking for money for a project. You have the nonprofit budget from the corporation, but you also have the marketing budget. And don't be afraid to market yourself.
Sherrie, I feel like we all just picked your brain for the past hour. You shared so much information. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
you for having me.
And I'm going to put you in the green room and we're going to wrap this up. I'll be right there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for contributing. Wow, she shared so much information. It was just invaluable. Might have to go back and watch it again to make sure I caught everything. Thank you for everybody that participated, that engaged in the comments. I hope that you connect with one another. This is an awesome way to meet people that are, interested in the same thing. So, and I agree what Sherrie said about the dash. When I retired in May of 2019, I called it a graduation. I'm like, yes, 38 years of working for the Navy, and I'm ready to graduate and go on and start my coaching business. And I was so excited. And I wasn't exactly sure what area I was going to coach in. And then 3 weeks later, after I graduated, my daughter called me and said that her dad had cancer. And so I put starting my business on hold, and I helped take care of him because 2 weeks later, he was paralyzed in both arms from the cancer. So he had a fiance. She took care of him a lot. And so did my daughter. And I would help from time to time. I watched him pass away on December 11th, 2019 with regrets. I know he had regrets. I know he had regrets for the way he lived his life, for the way he treated me, for the way he treated his children sometimes. And he had I was the executive of the state. He had a lot of files about retirement and what he was going to do when he retired. And that he gave us a gift. He gave me a gift, which was create a life you love living right now. Don't wait. And that's why I decided to coach in that area. Let's move onward together. Let's move onward in creating a life that you love living right now. We can say, well, when this happens or when that happens, but what can we do today? Because life is so short and it's so precious. I want to play my closing video here, and I want to thank everybody for watching. And I'm usually live on Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern. I'm actually going live this Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So feel free to join in. Thank you for watching. The Onward podcast is sponsored by Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. Visit my website, emilyharmon.com, to learn more about my coaching programs and how you can work with me. Let's move onward together.